Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Chinese demand for gold is strong in 2021. Let's explore. As you're looking at an image of a bar from 2013, a kilo Chinese gold bar. Fascinating indeed, but apparently it looks like gold demand is increasing in the nation of China for the year 2021, according to an article here from Kitco News. China sees strong gold demand in the first half of 2021, while India still struggles. Those are the two largest physical metal markets, and commodity analysts at Commerce Bank, they're watching the growing divide between those two nations. China saw strong demand in the first half of the year. At the same time, India struggled with its COVID-19 pandemic, which weighed on precious metals demand. Quoting trade data from the Chinese government, the German bank said that nearly 31 tons of gold on a net basis was transported from Hong Kong last month. That's interesting information, how they're getting it from trade data. This was 9 tons more than in May, and the second highest figure since December 2019, said Karsten Fritsch, precious metal analyst and author of the latest report. Commerce Bank noted that more than 130 tons of gold were moved to China from Hong Kong in the first half of the year. At the same time, more than 100 tons of gold were shipped from Switzerland to China in the first 6 months of 2021. China's buying interest is likely to have been boosted in June by the significantly lower prices in the second half of the month, after prices in China had still been trading at a noticeable discount on the international price at the start of the month. While China sees a pickup in demand, Commerce Bank noted that Indian demand remains weak. The nation imported only 16.5 tons of gold last month, an increase of 5 tons compared to May. The price fall in mid-June and the lifting of the coronavirus restrictions do not appear to have rekindled any buying interest, Fritsch said. Domestic gold traders have been forced of late to grant more generous discounts on the local gold price. Of course, now with this kind of resurgence with the Delta variant, who knows how that's going to play. But nonetheless, found an interesting article from Market Watch also about this situation, about how China has finally stated how much gold it has, but nobody believes it. So it's interesting that they're pulling information from trade data and the other source, because that's probably going to be more accurate representation of what's going into China from other nations. In other words, they're not sourcing it from China. So we know that demand is increasing in that regard to the public. Here, this article from 2015 says that China's released data on its gold holdings for the first time in about 6 years. But investors say the guessing game about the country's actual inventory continues. No one really knows. And I remember kind of talking about this loosely then. It made me wonder if there's been any other reports from the People's Bank of China since then. I've not really looked around, but seeing this kind of makes me wonder. Its gold reserve for the first time since 2009, its official gold reserve stood at 53.3 million ounces, or 1,658 metric tons in June. It's a lot of gold. I think we've got about 8,000 or so here in the United States. So they're catching up to us. And the last time China reported official figures was in April 2009. Back then, the figure stood at 1,054 metric tons, according to Ross Norman, Chief Executive Officer at Sharps Pixley. The latest total is about half of what the market thought it was. The market was generally expecting a total of well over 3,000 metric tons, according to Brian London, editor of Gold Newsletter. There's much evidence that China holdings are actually at those higher levels, which makes one wonder why they would feel compelled to understate the total now. Well, I can probably tell you why they would want to do that, because they want to kind of surprise us, make us think that they're not as powerful in that regard as they try to steer away from the dollar. And one thing's for sure, back then there was rumblings and talk about it, for sure. In fact, they were the C in the BRICS nations. China's disclosure comes at a day when futures prices for gold logged their lowest settlement in more than 5 years. Look at this. August 2015, gold finished at $1,131.90 an ounce on COMEX. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to be able to pay that much for gold again? Wow. Fascinating indeed. Economic reforms persuading the IMF to include the yuan in the basket, which would accelerate its acceptance as a reserve currency. It's there. We see it there. In fact, there was talk about China and other nations ganging up, hence the term BRICS, the BRICS nations, to compete for the dollar. And I think that move is still happening, and that's what they're trying to do. But nonetheless, there it is. Gold demand is strong in China. And what's the best way, I think, to counter that is to have gold demand strong in the United States and in the West and in representative republics of our nations or democracies. We need more gold in the hands of individuals to be our own central bank. And that's the key here. But yeah, we'll see. Prices are high, continue to be high, even at this time when the markets are in a downward trend movement in the doldrums of summer. But that's okay. It happens. But gold hasn't fallen a whole lot. Silver's taken a bigger beating than gold has as of late, which should be a pretty good case to hold some gold in your portfolio, because I think it's got a stronger resistance level for sure, given all of this. Nonetheless, the Chinese have known this for thousands of years, that gold is a personal store of wealth and has saved them many times. In fact, Edmund C. Moy, the former director of the U.S. Mint, his parents got out of China during Japanese incursions in the late 30s and were saved by gold. Yes, indeed. So he certainly understands it. As a former U.S. Mint director, one of the best, by the way, Mint directors the Mint has had in the 20th century, I feel, or in the 21st century for sure, definitely in the 21st century, but nonetheless, fascinating indeed. There we have it. Gold demand strong in China and weak in India, but it's only a matter of time before it strengthens there, which I think will probably help to push prices higher, because gold is treasured, and because it's treasured, it retains its value, much more so than something like silver that is essentially utilized and consumed. So there it is. So let me know what your thoughts are on this subject. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.